Hey there, glad to see you. Mark, the Gospel of Mark, 5 minutes at a time. We're in chapter 13. Yesterday we talked about destruction. Today we're being invited to keep alert. That's Jesus' invitation to us, to keep alert. Alert to what? I don't know. Let's see what the Bible tells us. But when you see the desolating sacrilege set up where it ought not to be, let the reader understand, then those in Judea must flee to the mountains. The one on the housetop must not go down or enter the house to take anything away. The one in the field must not turn back to get a coat. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing infants in those days. Pray that it may not be in winter. For in those days there will be suffering, such as has not been from the beginning of the creation that God created until now. No, and never will be again. And if the Lord had not cut short those days, no one would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, whom he chose, he has cut short those days. And if anyone says to you at the time, look, here is the Messiah, or look, there he is, do not believe it. False messiahs and false prophets will appear and produce signs and omens to lead astray, if possible, the elect. But be alert. I've already told you everything. But in those days, after the suffering, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Then he will send out the angels and gather the elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. From the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you will know he is near, at the very gates. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But about that day or hour, no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son of Man, but only the Father. Beware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves his home and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, and he commands the doorkeeper to be on watch. Therefore, keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midnight, or at cockcrow, or at dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I will say to all, keep awake. That's a big inhale, isn't it? Right? But the interesting thing about this pericope, this piece of scripture, is while it's hard, it's also honest. Because we have all sorts of hard times in our life, times that we feel there's suffering. And what Jesus is saying here to us, I think pretty particularly, is if you are in the midst of suffering, do what you need to do. Prioritize the moment as a way of seeing God and God's kingdom. Don't run into your house and get things that are of no consequence, idols, things to carry. But look forward to what God is calling from you, from the midst of the thing that is hard. Remember yesterday we talked about the birth pangs. Something new is being born, and the Messiah is leading us into that. And so Jesus says, you will see that in your life. You will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. For us, for you and I, for the elect. So be alert. And you may say, what's the elect? And here's my simple answer. I have no idea. I generally assume that the elect includes those that God brought into the world. And as best as I can tell, if you're in the world, God brought you into the world. And so that makes you the elect. But for us, we're followers of Jesus. For whatever reason, by choice, by country we were born in, by upbringing. And buried within this text that we see today, it talks about the stars falling from heavens and the earth is shaken when the Messiah comes. That is taken directly from the Old Testament prophet Isaiah, chapter 13. And it gives us a sense of the presence of Jesus in the moment when he is saying this, because they feel this insecurity that's going on in the nation in which they are. And we have that same kind of insecurity. I think every generation does in its own way. Our task, yours and mine today, because I'm giving you the word, is to be alert. What are we alert to? We are alert to God's world, to God's presence in the world, to the creatures in God's world that we are put in touch with, right? So that is it. We are awake to the world. Keep awake to God's creation. Keep awake to the presence of God. And if it is in a season of suffering, then still keep awake, because your alertness prepares you for the wonderful new birth. That's the resurrection story that Jesus is leading us into. But we'll get to that later. I'm glad to be with you. Thank you for spending time in the Gospel of Mark with me today. Peace upon your soul.